The package arrived on a Tuesday. There was no return address, just my name and the archive's address written in neat block letters. Inside, wrapped in brown paper and tied with old cotton string, were 22 black and white photographs. I work in the photographic archive at the university. I spend my days handling photographs exactly like these, dating them, cataloging them, writing condition reports. I know old photographs. I know how they smell, how the paper ages, how to read the grain and contrast to determine the decade. These were mid-century, good quality, taken with real care. The kind of photographs someone made because what they were documenting mattered to them. The first few photographs were street scenes, Palermo, Buenos Aires. I recognized it immediately, even though the buildings had changed around the edges, the cars were wrong, and the street signs were different. The wide avenue with the jacaranda trees, the old corner building with the ironwork balconies. The photographs were dated on the back in pencil, 1962. I laid them out on the light table in the order they'd been packaged. Street scenes first, then a building entrance, then a stairwell, then a courtyard, a café interior, a corner table by a window. I was enjoying them, honestly. They were excellent photographs, sharp, atmospheric, the Buenos Aires of 60 years earlier captured with obvious affection. Then I picked up the 7th photograph, a building entrance, heavy double doors, ornate stonework above them, a set of stone steps leading up. I knew those doors. I had walked through them that morning. That was my building. The building where I had lived for the past 3 years. I put it down, picked it up again, looked at it the way you look at something that doesn't add up, going over the details, searching for the thing that would make it ordinary. The stonework, the number of steps, the particular iron fitting on the left door, all of it matched. All of it was my building, unmistakably, in 1962. The 8th photograph was the stairwell, my stairwell, the old wooden banisters, the patterned tile on the landing, the frosted glass window on the 2nd floor that lets in the afternoon light. I had stood on that landing that morning, waiting for my neighbor to pass before I came down. I knew every centimeter of that space. Someone had stood there in 1962 and photographed it with care. I kept going. The 9th, the courtyard of my building, the old fountain that hasn't worked in decades, the lemon tree in the corner that was apparently already there in 1962. The 10th, the café on the corner of my street, where I have breakfast every Tuesday and Thursday. The specific corner table by the window, my table, the one I always take because of the light. 22 photographs, my street, my building, my stairwell, my courtyard, my cafe table, the route I walk every morning from my apartment to the archive, the bus stop where I wait, the small plaza where I sometimes eat lunch. 22 photographs documenting a life, my life, taken 60 years before I was born. I spent the rest of that week trying to find out where the photographs had come from. The archive had no record of receiving the package. The post office couldn't trace the sender. I examined the photographs again under magnification. The paper stock, the developer residue, the edge markings. Authentic mid-century materials, not reproductions. These photographs were genuinely from 1962. I tracked the photographer through the image style and the paper type to a period Buenos Aires photographer named Alejandro Vidal. His archive was held at another institution across the city. I called them. They confirmed the photographs matched Vidal's known work. Same paper stock, same development style, same compositional approach. They asked where I'd found them. I said it was complicated. Alejandro Vidal died in December 1963. He was 41 years old. The cause of death listed in the records was cardiac arrest, though a note in the estate file mentioned that he had been in poor health for several months before he died. Anxious, sleeping badly, obsessively working on a series of photographs he refused to show anyone. His estate had passed through several hands over the decades. No one knew where this particular set of prints had been for 60 years. Among his personal effects, documented in the estate inventory, was a single handwritten note. The archivist read it to me over the phone. 4 words. Ella todavía no sabe. She doesn't know yet. No name attached, no explanation. No context beyond the photographs themselves, which Vidal apparently kept separate from his other work, never exhibited, never showed to anyone. A series he made and then apparently spent the last year of his life not knowing what to do with. I went back to the photographs that evening, all 22 of them. I had been through them many times by then. I thought I'd seen everything they had to show me. But I hadn't looked properly at the last one, the 22nd photograph. I'd glanced at it and moved on because at first it looked like the others. My building entrance, photographed from across the street. But this time I looked at it under the loupe. There was a figure in the doorway of my building, standing between the doors in the shadow, looking directly at the camera. The photograph was from 1962. The figure was blurred, the way people blur when they move during a long exposure, or when the photographer's hands aren't quite steady. But they were there, and they were facing outward, looking at Alejandro Vidal, looking at whoever was standing across the street taking the photograph. I have thought about this carefully. Vidal photographed a neighborhood in 1962. It happened to be my neighborhood. The specific details, the table, the route, the courtyard, could be coincidence on a scale I am choosing not to calculate. I work in an archive. I know how easy it is to find significance where pattern exists. I know how memory reshapes what we think we saw. The note is the problem. She doesn't know yet. Vidal kept this series completely separate from his other work. He never showed it to anyone. He died 1 year after taking the photographs, in a state of anxiety his family described as unlike him. A man who had usually been calm, suddenly unable to sleep, obsessively returning to a project he couldn't explain. A project involving 22 photographs of a life that didn't exist yet, and a figure in a doorway, looking back at him. The photographs are in a box under my desk at the archive now. I haven't cataloged them officially. I haven't shown them to anyone. I keep meaning to decide what to do with them, and then not deciding. What I know is this. A man spent the last year of his life anxious about something he saw in a neighborhood in 1962. He photographed it. He left a note. He died. And 60 years later, the photographs found their way to the person they were about. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I sit at the corner table in the café, the same one as in the photograph. I've started looking at the window differently, at the reflection of the street behind me in the glass, checking it, not entirely sure what I'm checking for. The waiter thinks I'm distracted. I am. I've been walking past my building entrance and looking at the doorway before I go in. The space between the doors. Just looking. Just making sure. I wonder sometimes what Vidal saw. What he understood standing across the street in 1962 that made him keep these photographs for the rest of his life and never show anyone. What made him write that note? What he was waiting for her, for me, to know. I'm still not sure I know it yet. I'm not sure I want to.